cat in the wall, eh? Okay, now you're talking my language.
You ever drunk Baileys from a shoe?
All right, welcome in, boys and girls, to The View from C-Deck. I'm just Matt here with Case Dyer, Buckeye fans, talking about the Buckeyes, smart guys with some dumb opinions. But thanks for checking us out. And we just hit our 40th subscriber, Dyerwolf. Man, we're halfway to something, I don't know. Making progress, though. But we appreciate everybody that tunes in and tune in every week. Make sure you hit like the little bell, the notification thing. I was informed. Apparently, if you don't do that, we don't always show up, even if you are subscribed to us. Yeah, news to me. But anyway, Buckeyes destroy Western Michigan on Saturday night. I'll go ahead and get the negative out of the way first because there isn't much. And so if anybody was whining about Saturday night, can go F yourself. Will Howard's deep ball sucks, and get the goddamn starters out of the game. That's it. That's the only negative. Everything else was freaking amazing. What were you thinking Saturday night, Dyerwolf?
The only other negative I'll throw in there would be penalties. They need to clean that crap up.
Yeah, they were a lot of soft penalties.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, they completely flipped. Like after that Akron game, kind of felt a little bit like we've seen this story before. Like they struggle a little bit, and then they end up dominating on the scoreboard, so it kind of gets swept under the rug a little bit. And that's exactly what I wanted to see. Just right out the gate, big lead, and then it's all history after that. The starters still stayed in too long. I wanted second half Howard not even play at all, but I knew he probably would. And I was hoping just one drive, and of course they didn't score. Like I've seen that story before. One of these days somebody's going to get hurt, and it's going to be devastating. But I thought Devin Brown, surprised. He had a couple good plays, but then he looked terrible at the end of the one drive when it was like 4th and 30. Sand comes in. He looks like, he wasn't in long, but they trusted him to go for it on 4th and 1 and throw the ball, and it was a nice spiral. I was pleased with basically everything. The defensive depth was the other thing I was pumped about.
Defense totally dominates. Offense totally dominates. We outgained them by 584 yards. Outgained them by what would be like the best offense in the country by itself.
Yeah.
On average. That is insane dominance. Didn't even force turnovers. Still completely shut them out. First shutout since 2019. Offense, though, will start there. Big plays galore. Even some that got called back because of really weak holding calls that didn't affect the play. I will say this. The officials looked like to me like they wanted to help Western Michigan out a little bit. That's what it looked like to me. Not to hate on the refs too much, because our opinion here on The View from C-Deck is that the refs just suck. It's not a conspiracy. They just suck. So I don't think they were being conspiratorial here against Ohio State. They just stink. But big plays galore. J.J. Smith takes another one to the house on a slant. Should have had another one on the deep ball that is just wildly underthrown by Howard. We've only seen him throw 2 deep balls, both to Smith and both wildly underthrown. He needs to put more. I know he was probably too open on that play, and so he was just trying not to overthrow him. But you got to hit that. O-line dominates, though, and this is what we've been wanting to see for probably 3 years now.
Yep. It was Western Michigan, but still, you're pushing guys over. You're opening huge holes. Every run, it felt like, was 7 or 8 yards, even when the 3rd and 4th string running back came in.
Yeah. Oh, Sam Williams-Dixon had 40 yards on 3 carries.
Yes.
As the 4th-string guy. We even had a quarterback playing running back in this game. We got so many people in.
Yeah, I didn't even. Who was that? I didn't even
Mason
know.
Maggs. He's from a local boy. He's from Dublin Kaufman. He's backup quarterback, though. He's a walk-on quarterback, and they put him in at running back. I don't know why. Just to get him a play, I think.
And I assume they're just trying to hold Nolan's red shirt.
Yeah, you always read that he never got reps in practice.
Yeah.
There's too many quarterbacks. There's too many quarterbacks on the roster. He can play 4 games, so there's no real threat of him losing it if they don't want him to. But I just think he's just not. They're not going to put him in the game if he can't even get a rep in practice. Read into that what you will, I guess. But 7 yards of carry on the night. Huge holes. Could have been worse if that 80 yards doesn't come back. Even bigger. But like really, there's not, like the O-line, the zone blocking finally opened the stretch plays that Jason always hates. The Haas, our other guy, they were opening up holes, and Quinshon was finding them especially. He looked fantastic in comparison to the first game. And yeah, it was great. I mean, so many guys get in. Like the only flaw, and I don't even like them coming out, because I get what they're saying. They're trying to do with coming out in the second half with the starting offense, like get used to that. But like, it's not a real look. Like they're not going to come out fired up and ready to go when they know they've already won the game. Like it's just human nature. Like it's not, I don't think it's bad coaching or even bad playing. It's just like, this game's over. What am I doing? And then they come out and they just look terrible, like disjointed on the first couple of possessions, and they come on the first possession especially.
And if you put in the second string, who's ready to get in and prove themselves, they're not going to be like that. They're
right.
going to
Right. Well, I just don't think you gain anything by putting them in, and it's like shooting free throws in practice. I mean, you have to practice them, but you're not gaining a lot, like especially if you're not doing it in like a real scenario. Because Dwight Howard always shot like you'd hear it, and I believe it because his stroke wasn't terrible. He'd shoot like 80% in practice and then shoot 55% in games. Everybody's like, "What the hell?" Like, because it's different. It's just different. It's just different in a way you can't gain anything from it.
Yeah,
I don't think we could gain anything from coming out with the starters in the second half. Nice.
Yeah.
But defense, like you said, totally dominant. And I mean, Western Michigan was very conservative to try to like make sure they didn't turn it over, and they ran the ball 28 times for 31 yards. You think you'd abandon it when you're down 35 and you can't run the ball and you're being completely unsuccessful.
Oh yeah, I don't even know who played better, the defense or the offense, but I guess you got to say defense because they got a shutout and held them to under 100 yards, which is very rare. Sawyer, I texted you, like, he doesn't get on the stat sheet, but good Lord, does he get to that quarterback, even if it's not a sack. He's got 10 pressures on the year, which is more than double second place.
And he does have to get a sack on a destructive sack, just completely annihilated on a play action.
Yeah, he has one. But it made me think of a debate we had on one of the first pods here this year. Who's the best unit? And I still don't know. Is it defensive backs or defensive line? Because they're both absolutely ridiculous.
D-line right now, just because the DBs haven't been threatened at all because of the competition we've played mainly. like
the pick six plus Ransom has a scoop and score. Like
that was linebackers with the pick six though.
Oh yeah, Powers, you're right.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to hit on though. There's not much interesting. Burke got booted early for a terrible targeting call.
Yeah.
We'll never understand how it could be when the other guy lowered his head too. There's only head-to-head contact because the other guy lowered his head. It's supposed to be targeting on offense if they lower their head, right?
The other thing is, why was it Burke and not Reese? They both did the same thing.
I think because they gave Reese the bit. I think because he came in second and they were kind of considering him defenseless at that point. Maybe here's what I think, because I saw that. This is what I thought also with the Ibuka call in the first game, is that these refs don't want to be wrong. So they're calling a different thing than they called on the field because they're wrong about their original call on the field. I think they were looking at it for the first guy targeting, like you said, and then decided, oh, we're wrong about that, but we can get this second guy so that way we don't look stupid. That's how I felt about the Ibuka miss. Oh, we called him out of bounds. Well, he wasn't actually out of bounds, but we'll say the ball was moving, even though like they always say like it's still, even if it like it's allowed to kind of move. Every time you hear an official explain it, it can. Doesn't mean you lost possession of it if you're like readjusting it yourself.
And I think you're right, because my brother was in the stadium, and he said all the replays and everything was showing Reese. Like, everybody thought he was getting out. Like, that was the vibe. And he couldn't even see Burke hitting the guy. So it was like...
Yeah. He came in with his head down. I mean, you do want to get that out of the game. Like, it's bad. It's dangerous for Burke, but it's not... Like, it shouldn't... It's just too punitive a penalty, man, for something so stupid. One thing I'll hit about, though, is, since you brought up the linebackers accidentally, is that I think CJ Hicks may have played himself off the field, as in he's not playing well enough. I saw way too much hesitation from him on plays again, where he ends up with like a lineman in his lap before he literally didn't even move on one play and had a lineman blocking him. And when you're 4 yards off the line of scrimmage, that's a no-no. And Gabe Powers looks great every time he's on the field. So I think, and Reese already passed him up. He played way more snaps than him. with Cody Simon being back, it was clearly Sonny, Cody Simon, and Reese as the top three. And I think I'd bring in Hicks on obvious passing situations when, they know he's going to rush because he's in, but it's okay because you're in a passing situation. So, but Powers looks great when he's in. So LBs look good and deep right now.
Oh, I love Reese, man. Every time he's in there, he looks like a beast, but he's obviously not going to be able to start. Simon, I thought he made a big difference. Like that was one of the biggest differences from first game to second game on defense, I thought.
He had like one bad play in coverage. That's about all I remember him doing poorly. Interesting to see the PFF stuff for this week. I guess my only maybe complaint would be also the D tackles playing them a lot right now, the starters. And I think we have the depth to rotate in, but I mean, that's a very mild complaint. So, like always, Dyerwolf at the end of these podcasts, this week, it's funny because Jason asked me when we did the thing last week, is this in totality or is this this just based on our game? I'm like, well, I usually just mean based on our performance, but Dyerwolf always answers it in totality, so go ahead.
Yeah, in totality, I feel much better from this week compared to last week. Last week, it was, like I said earlier, kind of have a little bit of doubt, like, it's freaking Akron. We don't really know anything still because they didn't look dominant. And then Scum looks like dog shit. Penn State looks like dog shit. Oregon looks like dog shit. Those are the only teams that could take us down in the conference. I mean, there's literally nobody else. And it just made me think it's going to be a cakewalk almost through the Big Ten. We could lose one, and then we're going to play the same team again in the Big Ten championship, most likely. So
maybe it's the USC being the way they are right now.
True, because we don't play them.
Yeah, there's a good chance we're playing USC in there. If we lose a game, maybe we don't get there. But we'll talk about this on another podcast. That may not be the worst thing to happen to us.
Yeah, I think the top three are clear now, and it's like everybody else. Texas, Georgia, us. Bama might be there a little bit, but I think the top three are clearly better than the rest right now.
Definitely looks that way. Oregon's not what we thought they were. You would see it at some point through two games. And they have an interesting game this week that we'll talk about on our gambling podcast. So, yeah, I'm with you, though. I feel much better, both on watching us play. Like, literally the only weakness I'm seeing right now might be the deep ball. Something I didn't touch on. The RPOs from Will Howard are beautiful. Yeah. They look filthy. That's going to be so hard to defend with the talent we got at running back, his running ability. Then you got him being able to throw out like basically a triple option pass to a wide receiver. Good luck.
Plus, he's barely even ran at all because he hasn't needed to.
Yeah, I don't think he will. We're not going to call out design runs unless it's in like at the goal line situations, which we saw that on Saturday night too.
He might in big games, like he might be holding stuff back and just go crazy with it against like Scum.
Yeah, may not need it against Scum though. But yeah, everybody else, like Georgia looks amazing. I'll say there's a lot of SEC teams that look amazing, but they're not playing anybody yet. But neither are we. So, I can't. I feel like they might get 5 in though. I really do.
They got 4 for sure.
4 for sure.
And the 5th one will basically be the debate between a 4th Big Ten or a 5th SEC.
No, it could be 4. I think it could be. Can it be 4 or 5? Yeah, it can.
No.
It can.
No.
It won't be, but it can. I think, right? 3 more conference champions besides us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it will be that. But the way the other teams are losing, the way the ACC looks, and the way the Big 12 looks, even their best team struggled. Not Utah, but Kansas State. It'll be interesting. But yeah, overall, feel better. We're going to make a podcast, though. Check it out about the playoff and why the 5 seed is the best seed, perhaps, to get, and why it needs to be changed. And we're going to do our gambling podcast. Dyerwolf actually struggled a bit this week. But overall, Jason carried us. The Haas, out of nowhere, goes 4-1. Overall, though, we're like 70% for the year as a group. Or Casey and I are both 70%. We're like 66% as a group, though. So we're killing it. So check that out. But thank you for stopping by. Like, subscribe, hit that little ding bell. Give me a blip here. Make sure you are able to check us out every week. But for the Dyerwolf, I'm just Matt, and we will see you guys next time.
Hey guys! Oh, big gulps, huh? All right.